What you're looking at is the smallpox virus, one of the deadliest pathogens on the planet. For centuries, it did a wonderful job of helping keep the human population in check. But times change, and sometimes Mother Nature needs a hand in improving her creations. Like, say, speeding them up a little bit, making them contagious when they should be quietly incubating in a host, or making them more lethal. I didn't come up with the approach on my own. My friend Vitaly is one of the pioneers in the field, and the idea has been around for years. Genome as data. You see, once we digitized DNA, we made it infinitely mutable. We could do 1,000 virtual variations in the time it used to take to grow a 1 lab grade generation of pathogens. And we could pick the best, most lethal combinations and make them real. That's how you make a killer virus, you see. Mix in genetic code from other diseases, and you move the sliders all the way up on lethality and virulence. The goal was a 90% mortality rate. I'm not sure my green poison is going to quite hit that, but honestly, that's just details. As long as most of humanity goes, the Earth stands a fighting chance. Technically, technology is what's killing the planet. But that's not really the case. It's the greed that drives the technology. But a funny thing happened on the way to $100 genome maps and 3D printed plastic toys. Someone figured out those technologies could be repurposed, modified for the greater good. Me. Now, my virus is going to do what nature's always done. Decide who lives and who dies. And if nature decides I die, then I die. If nothing else, I'll have a lot of company. Natural selection at its finest, helped along by a little unnatural genetic manipulation. It's all data, really. Life's just a method of processing it. The same way I processed the smallpox genome on my laptop. And who's to say that wasn't the plan all along? If, by some miracle, you survive green poison, then nature's decided you deserve to live. The rest of us shouldn't and won't. Godspeed. I'll see you in hell.
Several vials labeled smallpox were found at a vaccine research facility in Pennsylvania. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control emailed a statement to CNN saying there is no indication anyone was exposed to the frozen vials. The laboratory worker who found them was wearing gloves and a face mask at the time. In 1980, the World Health Organization announced smallpox had been eradicated with the help of a global vaccination effort. In 2014, employees of the National Institute of Health found 6 vials of smallpox in an unused storage room. The CDC also says there's no evidence anyone was exposed at that time. Governments have long argued about keeping samples of the virus or destroying all known copies. Katie Johnston for CBSN.
So here you are, the stranger in Omicron, conqueror of demons. Dagobah told me much about your exploits. You're not the first video game player to get your soul trapped in this dimension, but you're certainly the first to stay alive so long. They're now in Astaroth's reservoir of souls. Better to die 1,000 deaths than end up there. Astaroth was locked up in a cage for thousands of years by Cuchulainn, the hero of the Cobalt Wars. Now that he's free, the demon needs to build up his power again because it dwindled over the centuries. To do so, he needs souls. Thousands of souls. He derives his power from suffering souls. They endure infinite tortures in the reservoir. It is this endless suffering that will enable him to recover his former power. The souls here are grey and withered. You can't get much power from them. The juiciest souls are in your dimension. Astaroth created the video game called Omicron in order to capture them, the game you're playing at this very moment. He uses Omicron to attract souls. He asks players to put their spirit into a body in order to enter our dimension. As soon as the soul has come here, it only takes a demon to catch it and take it to Astaroth, who condemns it for all eternity, which very nearly happened to you. No, unfortunately. As long as your soul is a prisoner in Omicron, you run the risk of being caught by a demon and thrown into the reservoir.
Concerns about a new COVID variant rattling markets and triggering new travel bans around the world. Tonight, we'll provide some context and clarity. We'll break down what scientists know about this variant and explain why health experts say people should not overreact just yet. Researchers first identified this new strain in South Africa earlier this week. Today, a World Health Organization panel named the variant Omicron and labeled it as a variant of concern. Health experts admit there are still a lot of unknowns about this variant. They don't know if it's more contagious than Delta. They don't know if it causes more severe disease. And they don't know how it stacks up against our vaccines. Still, the White House says it's taking action out of an abundance of caution. The United States will restrict travel from South Africa and 7 other countries in the region starting Monday. Reporters asked President Biden about the new policy early today.
We don't know a lot about the variant except that it is a great concern. It seems to spread rapidly, and I spent about a half hour this morning with my COVID team led by Dr. Fauci, and so that was the decision we made.
Now, so far, more than a dozen countries have restricted flights from South Africa. They include the UK, Germany, Israel, Italy, and Japan. The new variant also spooking Wall Street. Take a look at the Dow plummeting more than 900 points today, its worst day of the year. We have coverage from all angles tonight. Dr. Robbie Sicca on how this new variant compares to previous strains. Sarah Eisen on the potential economic fallout. But first, to our senior health and science correspondent, Meg Terrell. And Meg, no confirmation that Omicron has been detected yet in the U.S. So where has it spread so far?
Yeah, Kelly, so far, most of the cases have been detected in South Africa, with a few others in Botswana, Hong Kong, Belgium, and Israel. But it raised red flags in South Africa so quickly for a couple reasons. First, how fast it's taken off. Researchers there showed this graphic in a health department presentation yesterday. It shows the prevalence of different variants. Now, the red is the Delta variant, which was associated with the country's terrible third wave of infection. In the blue, all the way to the right, is the variant now known as Omicron, appearing to gain ground against Delta very quickly. Now, there are several caveats to this, though, one being that cases had come down quite a bit from the Delta wave, so it's not clear if and to what degree Omicron is outcompeting Delta. Cases now in the country are just starting to surge higher, and what authorities are concerned will become the nation's 4th wave. Now, the other major concerning feature of this variant is that it contains more than 30 mutations in the spike protein, and some are known to potentially evade immune protections, either from vaccination or prior infection.